You don't know who I am? Okay, well, you're not...
I know last name Woods, from what I just saw, but that's all.
It's all right, it's all right.
Yo, we just heard that GloRilla got arrested again, and this time it might be something else. But now with her in jail and the news that has released, y'all gotta find out what happened to her in jail. Some say GloRilla has been the latest target of the system and possibly framed. On July 22nd, 2025, the Memphis rapper found herself in cuffs. But the twist? It ain't what you think. See, when 3 masked dudes tried to run up in her crib while she was out performing at the WNBA All-Star game, somebody inside wasn't having it. Shots rang out, intruders dipped. But when the cops showed up to investigate the break-in, they ended up slapping felonies on the victim instead. Yeah, you heard that right. GloRilla caught drug charges after her own home got invaded. The streets calling it backwards, her team calling it political. And the whole situation got folks asking, how you go from victim to defendant in one night? Chapter 1, when protection becomes prosecution. The clock had just struck 2 a.m. on that July night when everything went sideways at GloRilla's spot in Forsyth County. While she was out in Indianapolis doing her thing at the WNBA All-Star game, 3 cats clocked she was out in Indy and figured it was go time. But here's where it gets wild. Whoever was holding down the fort inside wasn't about to let these dudes just walk through. Soon as they stepped foot inside, shots cracked off. Somebody inside wasn't playing. The intruders didn't stick around to find out who was strapped. They ghosted fast. Now check this out. You'd think when the deputies rolled up, priority 1 would be catching the dudes who just tried to violate somebody's home, right? But nah, that ain't how this story played out.
This rapper Gloria Woods, better known as GloRilla, is out on bond. This after a felony drug arrest in Georgia. According to a statement from GloRilla's attorneys, her home in Georgia was robbed while she was out of town.
Soon as them officers stepped inside to process the scene, they claimed they caught a whiff of that loud. In a blink, the whole thing flipped. From home invasion to drug hunt. The thing is, in Georgia, that smell alone is enough for probable cause. Deputies didn't waste no time getting a search warrant. And once they had that paper, they went through GloRilla's crib with a fine-tooth comb. The master bedroom closet is where they say they hit the jackpot, allegedly finding what they described as a significant quantity of marijuana plus some other controlled substance they ain't even specified. Just like that, the victim became the suspect. What's crazy is the irony wasn't lost on nobody. Here's GloRilla out of town working, her home gets invaded, somebody inside defends the property, and she's the one ending up in handcuffs. By the time she touched down back in Atlanta and found out what went down, the damage was already done. Felony drug possession charges were on the table, and the Forsyth County Jail had her mugshot ready for booking. Word spread through the hip-hop community like wildfire. Artists who'd been in similar situations started speaking out, pointing out how this wasn't nothing new. The pattern was too familiar. Black entertainers getting hit with charges that somehow overshadow whatever crime was originally being investigated. But what made GloRilla's case especially wild was the timing and circumstances. She wasn't even home when any of this popped off. Her lawyer straight up told reporters, "This is a clear case of misplaced priorities. My client's home was violated, yet she's the one facing charges." The statement hit different because everybody could see the truth in it. You already know how the game go, but this was something else entirely.
According to Forsyth deputies, 3 people were allegedly stealing things from her home and have been shot at by someone inside before law enforcement arrived.
Chapter 2, from Memphis to legal mayhem. This wasn't GloRilla's first dance with Georgia law enforcement, and that history made this new arrest hit different. Just last year, the FNF rapper had already caught a case in the Peach State that had folks side-eyeing the system. The pattern was starting to look real suspicious. A young black woman from Memphis making waves in the industry, and Georgia cops seeming to have her number on speed dial. Real talk, GloRilla's rise had been nothing short of meteoric. Coming out of Memphis with that raw energy and unapologetic style, she'd carved out her lane in a game that don't always show love to women, especially not women who refuse to play by the industry's unwritten rules. But with that success came scrutiny, and not just from fans or critics. Law enforcement seemed to be keeping tabs too. The previous Georgia incident had already put her on their radar. Now, less than 2 years later, here she was again. Different county, different charges, but same state, same system. Her legal team wasn't mincing words about it either. They straight up called the arrest politically motivated, suggesting that authorities were more interested in making an example out of a successful young black woman than actually solving crimes. GloRilla herself took to social media posting, "How I'm the victim of a home invasion, but I'm the one in jail? Make it make sense. They broke into my house while I wasn't even there and I'm catching charges? This system is so backwards." The post went viral within hours, with thousands of retweets and comments from fans and fellow artists alike. Think about it. While deputies were busy getting search warrants and building drug cases, 3 armed intruders were somewhere out there, free as birds. Not one suspect had been identified, let alone arrested.
Rapper GloRilla is facing charges in Forsyth County after she was arrested this week. But the sheriff's office says it all started after 3 people broke into her home. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office says deputies responded to her home Saturday for reports of a burglary. They say that 3 suspects were in the process of stealing when someone inside shot at them.
The break-in investigation basically got put on the back burner while they focused on what they found in GloRilla's closet. Her lawyers pointed out this backwards priority system, arguing that their client was being victimized twice. First by the burglars, then by the very people supposed to protect and serve. The $22,000 bond she had to post to get out added insult to injury. Here's a woman who just had her home violated and now she's out 22 racks just to stay free while fighting charges that came from that same violation. The math wasn't mathing, and everybody could see it. Fellow Memphis rapper Yo Gotti posted his support, writing, "The system stay trying to bring us down when we winning. Stay strong at Glo the Official, we got you." Other artists followed suit, with Cardi B tweeting, "This is exactly why we can't trust the system. How you arrest the victim? Praying for my sister." Chapter 3, the system's double standard. The response to GloRilla's arrest split the public right down the middle, and that division told its own story about where we at as a society. On one side, you had folks, many from the culture, who saw this as another clear example of how the system criminalizes Black success. They pointed out how quick authorities were to flip a home invasion into a drug bust, how the victim became the villain in record time. But on the other side, you had people asking questions about the circumstances. Why was there allegedly that much product in the crib? Who was the armed person inside who shot at the intruders? These questions, while valid on the surface, missed the bigger picture that GloRilla's supporters kept trying to paint. This wasn't about what was or wasn't in her closet. This was about priorities and patterns. Glo wasn't there. She didn't shoot. She didn't stash. So why was she the one in cuffs? Let's keep it 100. The entertainment industry and law enforcement have always had a complicated relationship, especially when it comes to hip-hop. From the earliest days of the culture, police have treated rappers like criminals first, artists second. The list of artists who've caught cases that seemed more about their profile than their actions is longer than a CVS receipt, from Meek Mill to Kodak to YNW Melly. The system been setting examples instead of seeking justice. And for women in the game, that scrutiny gets amplified. A source close to the investigation told local news. The officers were there to investigate a violent crime. The discovery of the alleged substances was incidental to that investigation.
You are going to be arrested. For what?
You don't have any proof on me.
No, ma'am, I do.
What's your proof?
But critics pointed out that incidental discoveries seemed to happen a lot when it came to certain demographics. GloRilla's situation highlighted something that Black women in hip-hop been knowing forever. They face double jeopardy. Not only do they gotta navigate an industry that's historically been a boys' club, but they also deal with law enforcement that sees them as easy targets. The message being sent was clear. Doesn't matter how successful you get, doesn't matter if you're the victim, the system can flip the script on you at any moment. Her legal team wasn't playing around though. They came out swinging, challenging not just the charges, but the entire narrative. Lead attorney Marcus Thompson stated at a press conference, "My client was performing at a nationally televised event when her home was invaded. She wasn't present during the incident, yet she's facing felony charges while the actual perpetrators remain at large. This is a textbook example of misplaced law enforcement priorities." The timing couldn't have been worse for GloRilla's career trajectory. She'd been on a hot streak, with features and performances keeping her name in conversations about the new generation of rap royalty. Now, instead of headlines about her music, it was all about mug shots and court dates. Industry insiders started whispering about canceled deals and postponed projects. Chapter 4, the bigger picture. What happened to GloRilla wasn't happening in a vacuum. It was part of a larger pattern that anybody paying attention could see. Across the country, similar stories kept popping up. Successful Black entertainers, particularly those in hip-hop, finding themselves caught up in legal situations that seemed designed to derail their momentum.
So earlier this week, GloRilla turned herself in after being hit with felony drug charges. But here's where it gets wild. The whole thing started because her home in Georgia got broken into at like 1:30 in the morning. 3 people were caught trying to steal her stuff. They even got shot at and ran off. Cops showed up looking for the burglars, but instead they say they smelled weed, got a warrant, and ended up charging Glo after discovering a significant amount of marijuana in her master bedroom closet.
The playbook was getting predictable. Wait for any excuse to search, find something, anything to charge them with, then let the legal system do what it does. The fact that GloRilla's arrest came in Georgia added another layer to the conversation. The state had been making headlines for all the wrong reasons when it came to hip-hop and law enforcement.
I used to sing Amazing Grace. I used to sing this song called Encourage Yourself.
You were really a singer.
Yeah, I used to be singing in church like I had a good voice. And then once I had got in high school, we weren't going to church like that. When I got into high school, when I got in high school, I had started smoking weed.
From YSL RICO cases to various other high-profile arrests, Georgia was looking less like the new cultural capital of hip-hop and more like a trap for black artists. Some in the industry started openly discussing whether it was even safe to have property or do business in certain parts of the state. DJ Drama, who's been in the Atlanta scene for years, commented on a podcast, "What we seeing in Georgia right now is wild. Artists getting hammed up left and right. It's like they targeting the culture." His words resonated with many who've been watching the pattern unfold. But here's what made GloRilla's case particularly infuriating for her supporters: the sheer absurdity of the sequence of events. Put yourself in Glo's shoes for a second. You're out of town, handling business, performing for thousands of fans. Meanwhile, armed intruders break into your home. Someone inside defends the property, which last time anybody checked was still legal in a state that prides itself on Second Amendment rights. The intruders flee, police arrive, and somehow you end up charged with felonies while the actual criminals remain at large. Make it make sense. Local activist groups started organizing protests outside the Forsyth County Courthouse. Signs reading "Victims aren't criminals" and "Find the real burglars" became common sights. Community organizer Keisha Williams told reporters, "This case represents everything wrong with our justice system."
We did 3 years in jail.
Wow. Yeah, I did.
Except from stealing from Kmart cereal.
Yeah.
That don't sound right. No, I want you to be honest, because you've got this on the paper.
I don't like the fact that you dug that up.
No, we gonna cut the cameras. No, but that, like, you didn't go to jail for 3 years for stealing cereal, right?
Yes, I did.
A young black woman's home gets invaded and she ends up in jail? We're not gonna stand for this. The conversation around her arrest also highlighted the selective enforcement of drug laws. In an era where marijuana was being legalized or decriminalized across the country, where white entrepreneurs were making millions in the legal cannabis industry, a black woman was facing felony charges for allegedly having some tree in her own bedroom closet. Meanwhile, white-owned dispensaries getting rich off the same product, same tree, different zip code, different skin tone, different outcome. Industry insiders started sharing their own experiences and observations. Producer Mike Will made it tweeted, "Every artist I know got a story like this. The system been broken, they just getting bolder with it." Stories emerged of artists being advised to avoid certain states, of security teams having to factor in law enforcement harassment into their planning, of careers being derailed not by lack of talent or poor decisions, but by systems designed to criminalize blackness. Meanwhile, the actual crime, the home invasion, seemed to fade into the background of the official narrative. No updates on the investigation, no suspects identified, no arrests made. It was like authorities had found what they were really looking for and didn't need to pretend to care about the original crime anymore. This lack of follow-through on the actual violent crime while pursuing drug charges sent a clear message about priorities. Chapter 5, Fighting Back and Moving Forward. As the legal battle heated up, GloRilla and her team made it clear they wasn't about to roll over. The initial social media posts were just the beginning. Her lawyers started building a defense that challenged not just the charges, but the entire process that led to them. They questioned the validity of the search, the circumstances of the discovery, and the priorities of law enforcement.
It was lit as fuck. Like, when I saw it, I was at BT rehearsals and shit. And I was taking a break while the dancers were still going. And I just saw it pop up on my news feed. And I was just happy. I was geeked. Why are you laughing?
Nothing. I'm sorry.
In court documents, her defense team argued the search of Ms. Wood's residence was conducted under questionable circumstances. Law enforcement's focus shifted from investigating a violent crime to building a drug case against a homeowner who wasn't even present during the incident. The support from the hip-hop community came in strong. Artists who'd been through similar situations offered advice and solidarity. Others used their platforms to highlight the injustice, keeping the conversation alive even as news cycles tried to move on. The culture was closing ranks, recognizing that what happened to one of them could happen to any of them. Megan Thee Stallion, who'd shown GloRilla love since day one, posted, "They stay trying to tear down strong black women. We see what y'all doing and we not having it. Free my sister." The post garnered over 100,000 likes within hours, showing the widespread support for GloRilla. But the damage was already being done. Every day that passed with these charges hanging over her head was another day GloRilla had to navigate the industry with this weight on her shoulders. Booking agents got nervous. Potential collaborators thought twice. And what should have been a period of capitalizing on her momentum turned into damage control. The system didn't need a conviction to achieve its effect. The arrest and charges alone were enough to complicate everything. And still, GloRilla's response showed why she'd made it as far as she had. Instead of letting the situation break her, she channeled that energy into her music and her message. Her posts about the situation weren't just complaints. They were calls to action, highlighting systemic issues and encouraging others to speak out about their own experiences. She turned her personal injustice into a platform for broader conversations about reform. She posted a video message to her fans. "They trying to break me, but I'm built different. We gonna fight this and we gonna win. And when we do, we gonna make sure this don't happen to the next person. This bigger than me, you feel me?" The case also sparked discussions in legal circles about the need for reform and how these situations are handled. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump weighed in. "This case exemplifies the need for comprehensive criminal justice reform. When victims of crimes become defendants based on incidental findings, we have a fundamental problem with our system." As weeks turned into months, the stark reality remained. GloRilla was fighting felony charges while the people who broke into her home were still free. Her team kept pushing this point, using every court appearance and every filing to remind people of this fundamental injustice. They wasn't looking for special treatment, just equal treatment. Catch the actual criminals first, then worry about what might or might not have been in somebody's closet. Between bail money, legal fees, and lost opportunities, this arrest was costing GloRilla way more than whatever they claimed to find in her house could have been worth. Sources close to her camp revealed she'd already spent over $100,000 on legal fees alone, not counting the lost income from canceled shows and delayed projects. What makes this whole situation even more wild is the timing in the broader context of criminal justice reform.
They do say this. They are the police down there say the homeowner is a victim of a serious crime and we are committed to bringing the suspect to justice. This was a statement from the sheriff. But he says at the same time, we must continue to uphold and enforce the law in all aspects of this case.
All across the country, conversations about police priorities, selective enforcement, and the war on drugs were happening at the highest levels. Yet here was a textbook example of everything wrong with the system playing out in real time. GloRilla's case became Exhibit A for why reform wasn't just necessary. It was overdue. The streets kept watching, waiting to see how this would play out. Would GloRilla beat the charges? Would the real criminals ever get caught? Would anything actually change? Or would this just be another story of the system doing what it does? Time would tell, but one thing was clear. GloRilla wasn't going down without a fight, and she wasn't fighting alone. As her next court date approached, the energy around the case intensified. Supporters organized rallies, shared information on social media, and kept the pressure on. The hashtag Justice for GloRilla trended nationally, with everyone from regular fans to celebrities demanding accountability. The message was clear. We see what y'all doing, and we ain't forgot about them burglars y'all seem to have forgotten about. In the end, GloRilla's arrest for drug possession after her home was burglarized represented everything wrong with how law enforcement treats black entertainers. It was a story of misplaced priorities, selective enforcement, and systemic bias wrapped up in one wild case. Whether she beats the charges or not, the conversation her arrest sparked isn't going away. The culture is tired of seeing its own targeted, tired of victims becoming defendants, tired of the same old playbook being run over and over. GloRilla's journey from Memphis to mainstream success had already been remarkable. Now this legal battle was adding another chapter to her story, one she never asked for, but one she seemed determined to write on her own terms. The outcome remained uncertain, but one thing was crystal clear. The system might have tried to flip the script on her, but GloRilla and everyone supporting her were working on a rewrite of their own. And you already know, like when the culture comes together, that's when real change starts happening. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and click on the box to watch another video.